Good afternoon, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Friday afternoon, March 28th. We're looking at Window Trader's market profile of the ES and NQ. We have a lot to get to today. We're going to recap the first quarter with the charts. This was a very difficult and not accommodating week to trade. M period. Look what M period just did in the last 30 seconds was incredible. Another thing, SPY and ES have had a big disconnect today. SPY attempted to go trend up way before ES did, even though they failed. SPY never got the both sides of the IB. Look at that. They didn't even come close to it. SPY hit an all-time high, both in L and M period. ES never hit the all-time high. So there's been a big disconnect. It has nothing to do with the dividend. I'm not sure why. Righty up in all three time frames. We'll go over that in the charts. However, their intraday was very disappointing. They did hold a gap today, a small one, and they held their price spike from yesterday and their double distribution day. But they had a chance today to have another one. They had two sets of singles, gave them all back, spent the whole afternoon pushing lower. They only had 9 wide and they held the gap. NQ has an inside week and an inside day. That should provide a lot of interesting things for next week. They end with a 10-wide POC. We end with an 11-wide point of control in ES. Both sides of the IB for the 28th time. So that's just under 46% of the time we've gotten both IBs this year, which is really amazing. And 11-wide point of control. Close to a balance high in ES. SPY stretched a balance high. I'm calling SPY still balanced on the daily, but the weeklies are healthy. Volume, because of the expiration, is not going to be anywhere near as poor as the range. Even with that move, SPY's range still was only $1.83. Okay, $1.83, which puts it at one of the smallest, fifth smallest range of the year. The volume is probably not going to get into the top 10. And in fact, it's definitely not. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind before we go over my trading and then the charts. The futures are not open tomorrow. Okay? I thought they were open. They are not. So right after this maintenance period, this market does not open up again till Sunday night. And the reason that's important is PCE is out tomorrow at 8:30 a.m., and Powell speaks tomorrow morning. I don't know what time. It doesn't matter, but he speaks. So going into Monday, which Europe is closed, you're going to have the results of PCE, whatever Powell had to say, first day of the month, first day of the second quarter, and people still probably being off. They like to wrap around. Some people are off tomorrow. Some people take the Monday. So there could be some nice volatility on Monday. And then we have non-farm payroll next Friday. So I am hoping this market expands its range and volumes because they have been very, very painful, for lack of a better word. And that's why it's been so easy to get both sides of these IBs in ES. In NQ, I took a long when we got the overnight high in NQ, came all the way in. I'm like, well, I'm going to long against the overnight low. See if they hold it. They didn't hold it, but I still got paid. They got it, went back up. That was a nice trade. Then I shorted NQ against both the opening and the 144 in A, and I lost on that. Went above it, took it off. So I was basically even. Then I took a short against the overnight high. Now, they did eventually get it, but I got paid on the short I took. Then in B period, I took a long in NQ, thinking we'd get A's high. I ended up breaking even on it. I took it off. I wasn't happy with it. It did take out A's high, but not by much. Broke even. And then I took a long when it came back. The way I took the short against the 144 in the opening, I took a long against the 144 in the opening and half back at the time. Went below there, took it off. So after all that, I was even basically P&L-wise in NQ after A and B. I did not do anything until H period then. I didn't do anything in ES there. ES was, the range and everything else was just horrible. But I nailed NQ pretty nice in H. N and J. First, I took the short in NQ to get the IB low before it took out A's low, which worked. And then I immediately flipped to long, saying I don't think they'll go trend down. And that paid me. So that was a nice 2 for trade. And then in J period, when we made the new low again, I took a long in NQ. I did not think we would go trend. The trade I didn't take, and I was looking at it for a long time, I was like, they're not going to keep one time framing down. I was trying to time to take out a one-time time framing down and stop it. But every time it got close, they pulled back pretty good. And I would have got hurt a bunch of times. So I never did it. And then finally, K did do it. But I never was able to time it right because that would have been a nice trade. I should have, because we had gotten right above the 144. Should have taken it because it certainly would have paid. So not a big day P&L-wise, and all week. It was okay. Again, I don't think it was an accommodating week at all. The ranges, well, yesterday's IB was huge in NQ, but the ranges weren't great this week. And a lot of conflicting MGI throughout the days. Anyway, still no complaints. In SPY, we have one target only. They made a new high. 524.61 is the all-time high. But before we get to that, we have the POC, 523.48, 12 wide. Just missed a perfect POC in SPY by a couple of pennies when L didn't get down here. So those are the two upside for SPY. The downside is today's low of 522.78. We stayed exactly $1 above the base of the price probe from yesterday. In ES, on the upside, you have the POC at 11.75, the high at 21. Never got the all-time high. We are poor. I didn't mark that, did I? I marked the all-time high, but I did not mark its poor. I'm sorry, not the all-time high, the daily high. ES is poor at its high, and which is 21. They took care of the poor low in the last seconds of the day in M period, and our low is 03.25. Now, let's go to those charts and recap everything. Okay? So first off, we're a quarter in the books. The Russell's up just under 5% for the quarter. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. The S&P is up a little over 10%. Right? He's up 5. The composite's up 9% on the NASDAQ. The Dow just under 6%. And the transports, what do the transports do? What the heck are they? There they are. They're up only 2%. So it was a good quarter overall. Transports lagged. Okay? But here's what's interesting. Righty is the only one with all time frames up right now. They're up on the monthly. They're one time framing up 5 months. Now, they're the laggard, so it doesn't surprise me, right? They have a lot of catching up to do. Their all-time high in the IWM is 244.46. We're still $35 away from it. But they're healthy right now in the monthly, up. The weekly came out of a 4-week balance to the upside, so I'm going to give them their due. Close back into it, but I'm going to give them their due. They stretched it by $1.50. So for now, I'm calling the weekly up. Okay? And the daily also up. Pretty ugly finish to the day. Reverse hammer. But I'm calling them up. We got to give them some. Plus, they held the gap. So I got to give them some leeway. So the Russell is up on all 3 time frames. Kudos to them. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Qs are very healthy on the monthly. One time framing up 5 months. The weekly is a 5-week balance, including an inside week, which was a very small range. Less than $5.50 range we had in NQ and triple Qs. That's small, very small. So that's going to be interesting because when you come out of an inside week, you go with it and monitor for continuation or lack of. So if you get continuation, great. We can make a new all-time high, or we can go test the balance low. But if you don't get continuation, you could actually take out the other side of that inside week in a heartbeat. That's going to be something to be very focused on next week, especially with Monday, with everything coming out. So the weekly is a 5-week balance with an inside week, and the daily is a 6-day balance with an inside day. So righty is percolating, right? We talk about this. The rubber band's being stretched. The envelope's being pushed. The water's boiling. What any kind of saying you want to use, I'm hoping for a pretty significant move in NQ when you come out of first the inside day and then the inside week. So the monthly up, weekly, daily are balanced, and they're both inside. Now the S&P, up on the monthly. Really nice distance away from previous months. So the longest time frame is very healthy. The weekly, one time frame it up 12 weeks in SPY and 21 out of 22. ES is 19 out of 22. That's an incredible move. But at some point they need some more money to come in here. They, for my money's worth, this is being, the foundation is not being built on solid concrete. It's being built on a bed of sand right now. That does not mean we can't keep going up. You know me. I do not ever try to pick tops or bottoms. So I'm not saying I'm picking a top. What I'm saying is the volume is horrible. It's not long-term money supporting this move up. So if they decide to take it back, now if they take it back with short-term money selling it, it won't be that bad. They could still be vicious, but it won't be that bad. However, if long-term money ever decided to say, I want out, boy, oh boy, will they wipe a lot of this out. So that's two different ways that this market could come into balance on the weekly. With short-term money selling it, which won't be that bad, or with long-term money saying, for whatever reason, something upsets this little apple cart to say, I want out. So keep that in mind. But for now, it's up. And the daily, for now, I'm calling it balanced still. SPY slightly stretched the all-time high. ES never got it. So it's a 6-day balance. Look at these ranges, how they're putrid, how small they are. Now the volume, look at the volume. Because it's the end of the quarter, we're at 94, almost 95 million. But please don't let that sway you into thinking, hey, we had an all-time high in SPY today, and that's in our top 10 volume. And it is. Right now, that's the 9th heaviest volume of the year. But please, take it for what it's worth. There's a lot of after-hour prints going on in SPY because it's the end of the quarter. Listen, I hope you had a great quarter, great week, great day. For those of you who celebrate Easter, happy Easter. Stay safe. Enjoy your weekend. Rest up. Thank you for liking and subscribing to this channel. And we'll speak prior to the opening on Monday.